was after Stalingrad.
Okay.
Usually, people say Hitler turned against his own people.
Right.
Yeah. Three things: commissar system. That was he checked that everybody was aligned. You are not allowed to make a critical remark. You were put in a punish unit, and that means half a ration food. You have no weapon, and you usually had to dig up mines and nobody's, what is it? Nobody's field? No, what is it? In between the lines. Nobody.
No man's land?
No man's land, yeah. Very dangerous, because there are vicious mines just the size of a cigar box, and you stepped on it and you lost at least one leg.
Right.
That means if there was no help, you could usually bled to death. So that was this. And then, third point, he invented the so-called Sippenhaft. That is a German term from the Middle Ages, That means if somebody in your family commits a crime, the whole family will be kept responsible. So in other words, you make a nasty remark about Hitler, that, we are going to lose, have a year punishment, or Sippenhaft, they put your closest relative in a concentration camp, and that means death. You last a few weeks.
Yeah.
That was 1943, but it didn't start this way, because Hitler thought he will organize another blitzkrieg, the term,
yes.
and France, but he miscalculated badly. He thought, what I think, the Russian had a purge in 1938. The chief commander was executed. Thousands of officers were sent to Siberia, and Hitler said he weakened his army so much that I can move in and defeat it in no time, without realizing that the Russian had plenty of reserves.
Right.
So,
now let me ask you, actually, I had a couple questions.
Yeah, good. Sure.
That was one of my questions. Let's see. Do you think, because I know I've read some memoirs and stuff of German generals, I know some of them have said that they think that if Hitler had listened to them, they could have won the war if they had taken certain strategies.
That's always the old story.
Right. You don't think that's correct? No, you don't think you don't think you had a chance? No. Bit off more than you could chew.
Yeah. I think he shouldn't have started at all.
Right.
He should have studied history and learned from Napoleon.
That's true.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay.
How can population, Germany had about 80 million people.
Right.
Russia had in those days close to 300.
Right.
How can this end in a victory?
Right.
Because the German army was in France, in Holland, Denmark, all over, Norway, Italy, North Africa.
Well, that's what they say is the German army was a lot better trained and better skilled, and they figured that the Russian army in the beginning was poorly trained, and they figured like Moscow. That was going to be my other question. Because I think when before the Battle of Moscow, I believe they diverted troops south instead of surrounding, and Hitler wanted
that was in November 41 already.
Right.
Hitler's German army were at the gate of Moscow.
Right.
And then the winter started. Germany had no winter uniform, but a heavy coat and a blanket. But that's not enough in the winter.
Right.
And it's 30 below zero sometimes. And Hitler was warned by the generals and said, stop. We have to dig in. We cannot take Moscow. That's all. But you cannot contradict a dictator. He fired Guderian. He was one of the most capable German generals.
Yes.
And I was even introduced to him.
Really?
After he was fired in November 41, I was wounded in October 41 back to Germany, and I had a very good friend, and we met, and he said, do you know who's upstairs? We went to his side. That's a General Guderian. He had just been fired by Hitler. So Come, let's meet him. It sounds very much. What was it? He wanted to know my name. He saw my rank. He saw I had already Iron Cross or the second class, and he wanted to know my unit and good luck. That's all. But still, I shook hands with him.
Wow. So he was a nice guy.
No, I thought he was very bitter. He was not innocent. He was just tired.
Right.
He was not a happy man, and I'm sure very angry, of course, because he said he felt he had warned Hitler, and in spite of his warning, Hitler did not listen to that. So that was 41 in November, December. So good. Next question.
Okay, well, speaking of Hitler, do you have a general overall opinion of him? I mean, I know, obviously, what he did is horrible. But there's some of the generals even that I've read, the memoirs, they say that he was, some of them think he was a, very strategic, genius. So I don't want to say the word genius, but they say, like with the victory in France, some of the generals didn't think they could win.
Exactly. Right. So everybody in Germany was afraid when he started the war against France, because everybody remembered what happened in 1914-18.
Right.
The Germans did not make it. Right. The Germans got stopped at the Marne River. They got badly beaten at Verdun, that. Yes. About 300,000 German against 300,000 French. The most horrible. I visited all those battlefields because I taught French also.
Right.
And yes, in spite of the resistance of the general staff, he pushed his own view that we are going to make it this time.
Right.
And it was very well conceived. He used the weakest point of the Maginot Line near Sedan, broke through and fanned out. And used a new weapon, the so-called Sturmgeschütz, storm cannon, and turned around and knocked off a few of the fortresses from the back. Facing France, they only had 4 feet of concrete. Facing German, 7 feet. So the Germans turned around and shot against the entrance on the back and knocked a few bunkers, so defeated and destroyed them. And the other one left them in, we bypassed them. So they were there for 4, 5, 6 weeks, waiting for Germany. Germany didn't. Germany, in the meantime, conquered the whole of France. There was no reserve on the French side. They put all their force in the Maginot Line. Yeah. That was a disaster. And 3-4 weeks, it was over. It was on the Loire. That was the center of France. The Germans never made it before. Not even during the wars against Napoleon.
Right.
Yeah. So.
What about England? Do you think, I've read too also that, do you think, from what I've read, it seems that Hitler was an admirer of England. He didn't really want war with England. Do you agree with that?
Oh, that is in a certain way, too. And also vice versa. English admired Hitler. The first years were a big success.
Right.
Right. He promised, to get rid of millions of people without a job. Yeah. What did you do? Building the army from 100,000 men to 3 and 4 million, of course. And people came and didn't see that, didn't realize this, and praised Hitler. Oh God, what he did! His economy is fantastic. People, everybody has a job. Yeah. But once you're in, you use the big army.
Right.
That's the old problem. You invest so much, now you use. That's an old story from Napoleon, from Louis XIV. So
do you think there's actually a new book out that I read, or I didn't read it, but I read about it. There's a new book by an American called The Unnecessary War, and he basically says that the war against basically Germany and the Western countries could have been avoided. So basically argues that Hitler's main intention was to go to war against Russia, and that basically England and France and the Western countries and America could have avoided the war and just let Germany fight Russia. And because really they say it was the Polish War guarantee that sparked the war, because England guaranteed that England and France, if Hitler invaded Poland, that they would help Poland. But if they didn't do that, Hitler would have never declared war on the Western countries.
Yeah.
Do you agree? I mean, it's hard to say in retrospect.
It's always the thought if
right.
Same Napoleon and Waterloo.
Right.
If he had better capable generals, the good old team didn't want to fight anymore, so.
Right.
He could have won almost. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that ties into the whole thing. I think it's debated quite a bit. I think whether the course that the war did take was inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
The Holocaust and everything, everything, was that inevitable? Some people say it was. Some people say, just read Mein Kampf and he tells what he's going to do. But other people say. And, because he didn't start all the killing really until after the war started. So some people say it could have been avoided.
It started. I don't think so. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's always easier after the disaster has happened to know things could have been different.
Right.
But we have to stick to the facts.
Right.
Yeah. He was determined to murder all the Jews.
Right.
Yeah. From the very first moment. He started, and that is what I many times emphasize, he started to eliminate and put the German opposition in the concentration camp.
Right.
The people came to the Olympic Games. It was a big propaganda success for Hitler, but 100,000 Germans were in the concentration camp.
Mm.
And the visitors praised Hitler. And he was what dictatorship always can do. Wonderful reception for foreigners.
Right.
Yeah. There came the king of Bulgaria. Then came the king of Romania. Then came Horthy from Hungary. Then came Mussolini, of course. And the biggest fish was the king of England, who had abdicated, Edward VII, with his wife. Yeah. And wonderful reception in Germany. And a funny thing, I remember that, what Hitler said, if I win the war against England, I make him king of England because he is so dumb. He was not the smartest. So at first, he put the Germans in the concentration camp because there was no reaction in a foreign country. Oh, so German. But when he started with Jews, then suddenly the foreign countries woke up. Yeah, right. But Roosevelt never mentioned it. When did Roosevelt help the Jews?
Roosevelt?
No.
Nothing.
Nobody he didn't even mention it.
Churchill either, right? I don't think.
Churchill maybe after the war, but yeah. Yeah. So, but after the war, then of course, that's easy.
Right. Well,
millions were killed.
Because that's not the reason they went to war.
Yeah.
They went to war because he started conquering other countries, right?
Yes. One after the other. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people say too. With Churchill, especially in England, they saw him as basically a threat to British supremacy.
Oh yeah,
which from what I understand, has been going on for a long time before World War I. Also, because Germany was growing, getting stronger, and Britain didn't want anybody challenging their power.
Yeah, then we also should consider the attitude of the United States. Very generous, very honest. First World War, America did not sign the Treaty of Versailles.
Right.
That. And Second World War, I am Berlin. I never forget what America had done for Berlin during the blockade.
The air.
They could have said, the damn Germans, let them starve.
Yeah.
That Truman, and that's respect I admire, noticed and realized if the Russians move in Berlin, they will not stop.
Right.
They will have Western Germany, and Western Germany is not enough. They will have France.
Right.
30% of the people were communists after the Second World War in France. So that's open gate for Russia. If they would have been there at the gates, they could have controlled the whole of Europe.
Yeah.
And they controlled half of it.
They did.
East. Roosevelt thought in Yalta. Oh, give them what they want. And Poland should have, of course, a democratic election. Of course, we can't do that.
Yeah, that's it. I know.
Of course, we liquidate about 20,000 people in Katyn. And they toast at Yalta. Roosevelt, what Stalin did?
No.
To the liquidation of 50,000 German officers.
Oh.
And
I did. I read a book recently. There's a biography of FDR. I think
Kennan was there.
Yes, I think Stalin had said that he wanted to kill the German officers.
To the toast, though.
And FDR laughed, and I think Churchill was the only one who was upset. Churchill was very upset.
Yeah, very upset. I think Churchill said, only 40,999.
Yes, I think Churchill's the fact. I think Churchill was more. He was better.
He saw the danger.
Roosevelt, I think, was a little naive.
Too far away.
Stalin.
Yeah, too far away.
Roosevelt, actually, from what I understand, actually liked Stalin. Thought he was a very nice, charming fellow.
Uncle.
Yeah, but
Joe.
Stalin was just as bad. Stalin was just as bad as Hitler.
Yes. He killed 20 million of his own people.
Yeah.
Good.
So, let's see. I don't know what other questions I have. What did you think? Do you have any thoughts about the SS? Did you have any dealings with them?
That is an interesting question because I was on the army.
Mm-hmm.
I was an officer eventually, and I could not give an order to the SS. I could not give an order to the police unit who rounded up the Jews in Poland. I could not.
Einsatzgruppen.
Einsatzgruppen, yeah. Because also within SS were decent units. They didn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
And I could not give any orders to the police unit. Certain police units recruited and shot the Jews there in Poland. So 3 things I could never do. I knew it. I could give an order to some of the Navy, some of the Air Force, of course everybody in the Army, yes, but nobody else SS. I knew it. Yeah.
They were completely separate.
That was an army within the army. Yeah. And still not all of them were criminals. I have a good friend in Germany who died, who was a high school senior, and the most famous SS leader came in, Heydrich. Do you know his name?
Reinhard.
Yeah, Reinhard, yeah. He's like, a very charming man, very elegant, very good looking, very nice. He could smile in contrast to many who would not. And so, here. You are the future of Germany. You don't have to take the final exam in the high school. If you volunteer right now, you will be the elite, the SS. You're better trained, you're better equipped, blah, blah, blah. And the whole class signed up. He was one of them. He was a very bitter man after the war. Generalization, all SS were criminals.
Oh, yes.
Well, he never was. He had lost part of his leg, and he didn't get any pension, so till about 20 years later. So, and that is something, you say, difficult to apply, but you should never generalize.
Well, I've read several memoirs of different German soldiers, and a couple from the SS. I think one of the generals' name was Johann Voss.
Yeah,
I think it was like a pseudonym. It wasn't his real name, I don't think.
Yeah.
He was in the SS, and he fought in Finland. and up there in the north, and that's he claims he didn't know anything that was going on, and they were
very successful because they were much better equipped.
Right. And actually, a good book I read, Otto Skorzeny.
Oh, yes.
What do you think about him?
Mussolini.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was a big hero.
Yes.
Everybody knew him.
Yes, he was.
It was a fantastic success story.
Yeah, I've read his book, and he was, I guess they say he was Hitler's favorite officer.
Yeah, probably. Yes.
He was a fascinating guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Well, then you read a lot.
I've read quite a bit, memoirs and such.
But it is sometimes a bit difficult because they are very much on the defense.
Oh, yes.
And they would not admit certain mistakes.
Oh, absolutely.
And certain crimes,
Right.
They wouldn't. I felt ashamed sometimes, The first thing when did I really noticed, yes, it was when I was wounded in 41 in the winter. I met Guenther. A friend of mine was a general staff in Germany and in Berlin. My parents noticed that, what's going on now? They are rounding up the Jews, not the regular police, not the army, but the secret state police, the Gestapo. You know that,
Yes.
So up in our apartment house, there are 2 Jewish sisters. Okay, they committed suicide because they realized they will be taken sooner or later at the night at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Not army, police didn't know where they got. Gestapo and just said, And then I heard the same story from my friend who was in the general staff and said, that's going to happen now. And they take them to East and they kill them there. So and you can easily figure out what a horrible situation this is. Here I may give my life to a criminal government. Feel ashamed to it. What can you do? Nothing. No? You were just caught in the trap. You could never get out. Dictatorship. And the worst the situation got, the worse the Nazis tried the terror acts of terror. Means if you could not get you, they put your closest relatives in the concentration camp. And everybody knew that's the end of it. No? Yeah.
Okay. Now, I guess we'll go kind of backwards here.
That's okay. That's okay.
I was going to start ask you first off, but we kind of got sidetracked. Basically, I just kind of wanted, do you just tell me, where you're from in Germany originally? And maybe your childhood.
That's why I was more informed and knew more and saw more than everybody who, let's say, grew up in the backwoods of the country. So all my relatives were officers, but very sad stories. All my friends were officers. We were 6 very close friends. 5 died. Okay. One of my uncle was taken prisoner by the Russian, but before they took him, he shot himself. He killed himself because that was the most horrible thing. So you were not taken prisoners by the Russians. They shot automatically all officers. So I had a handgun. Officers had a very good handgun. So before they kill me, I kill myself. It's easy to say, but hard to do. I was fortunately never in that situation. Yeah, that was.
So you were captured by.
Captured? I was captured. No, I was third time wounded during the retreat, 44, and sent to hospital in Germany. And at the very end, defending the Teutonic Forest. Do you know where that is? That's on the western part of Germany. It was almost a comedy. because Germany had run out of rifles. So I had a company, maybe 10 French rifles, 15 Dutch, and no ammunition. And we were high up in the woods, and there came the English forces, and there the American forces. And said, I gave an order, look, if you shoot now, it will be the end of you. No, you will be killed here. So I give an order, nobody shoot, okay? Let them pass there, so okay, the war is over, go home. In 10 minutes, people got gone. But watch people very careful. In no man's land is many times the SS. And if they catch you, they shoot you right away. So be careful. And the bad thing, I didn't know where to go. My parents were killed in Berlin. I did not want to go to back Berlin where the Russians were. The Russians took every able-bodied man to Russia. The first in 1945.
And they weren't very nice to the civilians either. They raped and murdered and
awful,
right?
Yeah. Two of my aunts were never killed. They were in a basement, they lived upstairs, and apparently the Russians started to loot, trying to shoot, and I don't know, did they go upstairs? At least they were killed.
Okay, so you were never actually captured then?
Never by the Russians.
No, but by the Allies?
Then came
Oh, okay.
So I did not know where to go. Okay, but I had always very good, just guarding angels. A good friend, a fellow officer said, I live on the Rhine River. We have 3 apartments. My parents, my in-laws, and I own. And one should not have been destroyed, so come with me. Yeah, but now, from the center, northern part, to the Rhine River, here were American forces, there were English forces to avoid them. I fortunately had already kind of civilian dress, but I had the officer's boots. That's how they caught me. And of course my age,
Yeah.
I was in the mid-20s. Everybody was a soldier. So they didn't believe that I was a student. They said, which was true. Nobody was allowed to take any course in universities. Most of them were destroyed. And then about thousands were on the Rhine meadows, Eisenhower, very bad. No tents, no food for about 2 weeks. After 1 week, people start to die. At first, the younger ones, I was mid-20s, the done was say between 15 and 20, then the old. And then we were taken to France, was not much better, 40 and one like cattle in one wagon. It was a Rennes, a big factory hall, no beds, no blankets. We slept on a cement floor. Okay, a little bit to eat. About 20, 30 people died every day. So those stories are nuts, though. So you would hardly read this,
No.
I survived because I could speak French. I was always interested in French culture, history. So my parents spoke fluently French. My father had studied in Paris and Sorbonne. My mother had attended finishing school in Switzerland and learned French. So, and they encouraged me. So, and then I survived because I was an interpreter. Yeah. So that,
and then you came here.
I don't have any resentment against French people because they also suffered.
Oh yes, everybody did.
Yeah.
So
that was, and then a bad thing. I came back after the war to face the blockade in Berlin. I have an aunt there, but it was one of the hardest days of my life when I was finally received for prisoner of war. I had no home, I had no job, I had nothing to eat, okay, and hunger and starvation were all over in Germany. I couldn't trade anything in with the American soldiers. I did some of my decorations. I get cigarettes. And for cigarette, you could get exchanged to a baker. You could get a hard roll. 2 cigarettes again, hard roll. So, and that was very bad in Berlin, the blockade, because we were afraid that the Russians may enter any minute. No, but Truman saw the danger, and there was a great American general, Lucius Clay, who was the commander of American forces in Germany, could persuade Truman not to give up Berlin. That if we do this, that's the first step of defeat. The Russians will take second and third steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was General Patton.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to fight the Russians right then and there. He knew they were.
He was at the gate of Prague.
Yes.
He was deep in East Germany, in Leipzig and Dresden, and the madness, then he withdrew instead of saying, no, we are in Berlin, but we are an access road, no? We can give up Leipzig or Dresden, but we want to have this, no. Well, it's easy to judge later. Yeah. Oh, yes.
So what do you think about Russia? I guess Russia is
right now?
Yeah, now or then. I mean, what's your general...
I have great respect for it. They suffered for hundreds and thousands of years. Yeah. They're still suffering.
Right.
Right now it's a horrible system. They are billionaires, and at the same time around the corner people are dying and starving, working for pennies. Yeah. That I would like to emphasize. We entered Russia the first day, June 22nd, from Romania. That was part of Ukraine. And the Ukrainians received us like liberators. There were tables with food along the highway. Right?
This was the initial invasion.
It was 1941, in June 41. They, of course, thought Hitler will make in Ukraine an independent state. No. Hitler, this idiot, did not do this. He could have won millions of Russians on the German side. No, it was his racial strategy. The Germans are superior, and the Slavs could be the slaves of the Germans.
I've read that elsewhere also. A Russian, I think it was a Russian officer. That's what he said. He said, if he had treated them better, he said he would have won them over to their side to fight against that because they hated communism.
I agree.
Yeah.
I tell you, it was horrible. Of course, I was very much afraid, having studied also history. I know what, for instance, Napoleon, when he decided to attack Russia, what Talleyrand said, he was the Secretary of State, he said, "Sir, you are worse than a criminal, you are an idiot." He was promptly fired.
I'm sure. But he was right.
It's true. He was right. He was not. Yeah. And nobody could kill Hitler. Stop. It's madness to attack.
Well, because he thought it was his destiny to win, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He was kind of prophet,
Yeah. Do you think he was crazy?
At the end, yes. Certainly. Yeah. Because the statement before he committed suicide, so the Germans were not really worth of me, great man. They disappointed me. No, not the other way.
Right. Yeah. I read that.
Something like this before he shot himself in Berlin. Yeah.
So,
no, I have great respect for the Russians. They suffered. They're very hard people, hard-working people. Sometimes you wonder how they survived.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Communism was pretty bad, though. I actually read there's another book, too, that I don't think a lot of people take it too seriously, but they said that basically Hitler was afraid of the communist threat, and that's why he invaded. which, I'm sure he was planning to invade anyway, but a lot of people say that Stalin was planning to, to expand as well. So some people say it was just, some people say that fascism was a reaction to communism.
Yeah.
So I think, there's probably some truth to that.
In many ways, they are similar, the dictatorships.
Right.
How they treat the opposition. That's the best one. What did Stalin did? The first thing, he was a minority, the Bolshevik, a Menshevik. The first thing is he killed the Menshevik off. What did Hitler do? 1 year? The knife of the long knives, the knight of the long knives, all the ones who were opposed in former government, even his own brown shirts, he threatened his absolute power. He played off the SS against the brown shirts, the SA. Röhm was the one, I don't know the Röhm who was killed, and many others,
Oh, yeah.
And former generals, if they could not be killed, he made them retire. So a new generation, well, if maybe you're a colonel, if you're nice and click your heels, you will be a no-time general, And then suddenly half of the generals were Nazis. The old ones were fired, one after the other, it's what it is,
So what about Stalingrad? So you actually were in Stalingrad?
I was fortunately wounded at the right time west of, about 30 miles west of Stalingrad. But I was in the 6th Army, and I was fortunately wounded, the long extension. And Stalin's army, very smart, used the weakest spot, the Romanians, and broke through the lines, and then was, in no time, the German army was surrounded. They could have been able to break out. The 4th Panzer Division was about 20 miles away, and Hitler forbade them to break through.
I remember.
It's like from here to Saratoga. That's nothing in the war.
I remember reading Paulus. Paulus. He requested. He said we can break out and still maybe win.
The bad thing, Paulus was a big Nazi, so Hitler forbade, of course, yes, and he was rewarded and hired rank Field Marshal, and then the Russians finally, entered the city, and it was hopeless, although Goering promised to supply from the air, didn't know it at all, And it was 91,000 surrendered, 6,000 came back, and in my company, I was one of the 6 who survived out of 200. I was very lucky. I was not severely wounded, a shrapnel here. It was always funny, I tell them that it was like a very hot piece of thin iron between my ribs. I pulled it out, and then it really started to bleed. It was fortunately not very deep in my body. So,
was it a piece of shrapnel?
Yeah, shrapnel. Yeah. So, and it was the reaction of defeat of Stalingrad. Everybody in Germany said that's a turning point, that's the beginning of the end. Germany ran out of manpower after that. Germany ran out of ammunition, of food, of supplies. After January 43, that was. And then the German army was rebuilt, the same 6th Army. And there it was in France in 43, and God, Germany ran out of people, The new soldiers were aged between 15 and 17, children, thoroughly frightened. They heard about Stalingrad. They knew sooner or later we go back, we will be shipped back to Russia, Awful situation. And we did, I was only lucky. I sent in a relatively quiet corner of the Russian theater of the Russian front, and I did not lose any of them, but I was out day and night to check it, So, and that was 43. And then the Russian broke through, and you face death every day, because I heard, the Russian machine gun, the sound was totally from the sound of the German. Said here, there, or again, surrounded. Fortunately, we had the additional winter uniform, the white ones. So, for instance, once they came in a T-34, that was a Russian tank, very good tank, and we just say a prayer and play dead, Don't move. And they were fortunately about half a mile away to the right, same direction. And there was another very frightening episode. There was a unit suddenly facing us. They had white uniforms and so. Oh, be careful. I said, I took a machine gun, right to left. So you wait, you give me protection, I go closer and so. Said, Heimat, parole, Heimat. The Russians couldn't pronounce the H. They said Geimat. They said Hitler. And I said, Hannover. Could it be Hanover? And said, Hamburg. And then I came close and said, you idiot, why don't you say you are Germans? The answer was a Russian machine gun. But fortunately, I had two very good men. I shot them and killed many of them, and they ran as fast, they fled as fast as they had already faced us. So they were also lost. That unit, we were west and they came east, so it would have been the other way around, and so on. Many very, very difficult situation. So were you actually part of Barbarossa? Yes. Okay, so you were from Romania along the Black Sea towards Crimea, the peninsula.
Yep.
And there I was wounded the first time, in the fall of 41.
So was that pretty, I don't want to say easy, but obviously a lot of...
It was relatively easy.
But from what I've read, at first the Russians were very bad.
But really Moshen almost,
Right. And then
toward the end, a big city, a big port, was empty. All able-bodied men and women were gone. Only old people and children there. So... But still, frightening, frightening scene, you never know. Are they still there? Are they dug in somewhere? Are they going to blow up this building or the next bridge? You never know in a war. So, it didn't happen. So, along the coast of the Black Sea was very little resistance. The first resistance was the northern end of the island of Crimea, and that's where I was wounded. Because they were apparently had supply from the cities of the Sevastopol. Yalta is there, for instance. So there I was wounded, and then I was always taken back to Germany, to the hospital. So that was the first act. Second was towards Stalingrad, and the third time already when the Russian broke through, and was at the Polish-Russian border when I wounded here. That was very bad. I thought I don't survive. I had seen enough people dead and torn to pieces, and I knew, I realized when I have no pains, death approaches, It was very bad. Dislocated, blood all over, bullet you can see here a little bit, in and out there. The jaw was broken. I couldn't eat for about half a year, only liquid with a rubber swollen and so on. What can be done, you know?
Yeah.
And then the jaw was broken, pulled back, and then bone transplant from the hips and so on. It's remarkable. I was in this special clinic, and there I thought that's the end of it, no? Because I saw the reaction. I had two very good sergeants. They were so able. They started to cry. And I had a hard time to control myself, no? Just stop it. You make it only more difficult for myself. And I was able to shake hands with my commander, the major, and it was written in his face that no, he's going to die. Yeah. But I didn't.
And here you are.
To hell. Yeah.
Wow.
And my colonel practically saved my life. He managed to get a seat in a helicopter from the Russian Galician border to the university clinic in Galicia. And that practically saved my life.
Who was that? Ukraine?
Yeah, it was Galicia. It was formerly part of Poland. It's now Ukraine.
Ah, yes.
Mm-hmm. So, now you have my whole story. Any more questions?
Well,
after the war was no paradise either.
Right.
Very tough. I've mentioned regattas. Always said, even if we lose the war, I still will be able to continue my studies, you know. University study is free in Germany, you know, and medical system is also free. Since the time of Bismarck, we don't have that.
Crazy socialists.
Yeah.
That's what they hear, you know, they say, it's socialist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Today they pay €500 for one semester. I said, you lucky birds. You study medicine, $500, €500. Everybody can. But, now comes the big but. It's very difficult to be accepted. You know very well at the age of 10, if you don't perform in school, you will never make it on the university level. So the school system is much tougher.
Is it still like that today?
It still does, yeah. The school is only a little bit different. They divided it into different branches. They had also different schools. I had the most toughest one. I had 8 years of Latin. At the age of 18, 6 years of French, 4 years of English. So with this, that's a high school diploma. With this, I got automatically 2 years of college credit here. So, and that was the thing I always said at the end of the war. Yes, we lose, but somehow I managed to continue my studies. Berlin. The university was controlled by the communists. So
this is after the war?
After the war, 45, 47, I came back. So application, yes. Were your parents in the Communist Party? Yes. Why not? I didn't fill in, okay. What was your rank in the army? First lieutenant. How many decorations did you have? I had about 15. The higher the rank, the bigger the Nazi. So, and then he took my application. Said, you don't seem to know that we have now the farmers and the workers' republic, not the old reactionary ones. So, goodbye.
Was that a German or a Russian?
Yes, a German communist who controlled the German university. Berlin, the center was controlled by the Russians. But still, and suddenly I found a job very easy because many teachers were forced to enter the Nazi party, and many positions open. I had in no time found a job, teacher of French and history. And you know how much I made? 80 marks a week, and that was exactly enough to buy a loaf of bread on the black market.
Wow, that's it.
That was tough. How did I survive? Selling my decorations one after the other.
Wow.
It's a crazy thing was sometimes my parents were kids, we had a summer home outside, and it was directed like a crate. And in the dead, how do you say, dead angle? No, blind spot, we had a big wooden crate, and there my parents had all the originals of my decorations, and we had a few stamp collections which I saved and so on. How good. A few decorations, and that means I will not starve. So I go to American soldiers. Here is a Romanian decoration. German Romanian is much more. I want more. Not 20 cigarettes, but 30 cigarettes. And I wonder how.
Now today, maybe those decorations are on eBay. They're probably on eBay today.
I have a few. Are you interested in seeing them?
Sure.
During all those years, I never showed them. You know the reason? When I taught German literature, I taught French literature. If I see them, half of the class were saying, "Oh, that's an old Nazi," you know. So I never mentioned. I did not walk. They asked me what happened in the war, or what you saw, of course, or what happened. Say, what was your rank? I always said I was chief potato peeler. I didn't want to talk about it. It hurts, you know. It hurts later too sometimes, you know. Even in a private school, I failed somebody in French. He said, "You fail me because I'm a Jew." Listen, no, I have my reason. Did you pass the test? Yeah. Did you do your homework? Yeah. Did you? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No. Okay. And you expect me to pass you by failing? Yeah. And so on. Yeah.
So you were in the army then. What year did you join the army?
What year?
Yeah.
39. When the war started, the first day. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it was awful. I thought, how am I going to take this? I didn't realize how privileged I was. My parents were very well off financially. Money was never mentioned, you know. I grew up in Berlin. I've seen 20 operas, 20 plays, you know, it's a Philadelphia orchestra, and so on. And then I came in the army. People who had never seen a play had nothing in common. You know how that is sometimes, you know. So that was very tough. And the first commander was a drunkard. He was half drunk. The only thing he wanted to know is dirty jokes. Well, dirty jokes were not allowed in our home. You know, I didn't know anybody, and he told them, and somebody else turned and were supposed to laugh. I didn't laugh. I was right away noticed this guy. Well, okay, it was very, very tough. But I would say I had also at the same time very, very good camaraderie, you know, who pulled me out. Yeah. Second, each time, because I could hardly walk. The first time I was shot in the leg. I could walk a little bit, and then I lost so much blood. And right away somebody was there to help and pull me out. Who was it? I don't know. Okay, and Russia, before the Russian attack, a delegation of my own soldiers came and said, "We just like you to know, we will not allow you to bleed in the no man's land. We pull you out." And I said, I hugged them and said, I would do the same thing. That's all I could do. I was very moved, you know. The people come on their own, that we don't deserve you, we don't let you die, we pull you out. And then again, captain and the colonel who managed to get a seat in the helicopter I could never shake his hand. I knew exactly where he lived in Berlin, 2 blocks away. After the war, burned out house. Did he survive? Probably not. And that is what I missed very much in, let's say, historians. I read a very good book about Fritz Stern. It's very good.
Is that the 5 Germanys?
Yes. Yeah.
I have a copy of that, but I haven't read it yet.
It's very good. It's a brilliant analysis. Very fair. Very good.
Because he's Jewish, right?
Yeah.
So now I was going to say...
But he suffered as a child, and then he emigrated. He found out, right? Okay. He's not bitter man. He made it here.
You don't like to judge, but it seems it would be hard for him to be objective.
Yeah. Right. It was very good. But 2 things I noticed after I read 10 pages. He said he was seen from the outside. Hell. But if you're inside hell, it's a different story. He never noticed camaraderie. You know? That somebody in the worst situation of hell is willing also to give his life for you and pull you out. Second, he never mentioned the poison you had to swallow means the propaganda. Day and night, that devil gavels. He was a very smart man. He was the smartest of all of them. Yeah. He could switch, turn black into white and vice versa. He was so smart and so vicious and so... What kind of man was he? Having his own children poisoned. His wife was forced to take, and he shot himself.
Did you see that movie? There was a film, Downfall.
No, they're under Untitled Chapter. I get nightmares. I still had for 20 years about nightmares. Always the same thing, surrounded, facing death. And you could also tell, well, we made it tonight, but tomorrow, don't know. Do you reach the safe heaven? There were certain places where you can reach, and where the defense lines of German army were established. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I meant to ask you earlier, but you joined in 30. I was just going to ask, what was it like in Berlin or in Germany before the war?
Before the war,
first few years, like in 33, 39.
Yeah, I tell you, I was a youth organization of the so-called Confession Church. I don't know, you probably never heard that. That was a Protestant movement against Nazification of churches.
Was that with
Niemöller and Bonner?
I've read it.
And Niemöller was in Berlin.
I've read a book about with Bonhoeffer.
I knew him personally, so I was on the youth group.
You knew Bonhoeffer personally?
No. Oh. He was not in Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one day we had a meeting outside Hitler Youth already. So from now on, this organization is reserved to run Hitler Youth. Here our shirts already home. So I wasn't Hitler Youth. 95% were. Sometimes forced.
Compulsory, right?
Yeah. And frankly speaking, it wasn't as bad as it sounds,
Right.
Men sometimes who read white stories, they were trained to use the gun and machine gun. Never. We worked for little batches, for sport, running and swimming and
like
so on.
Boy Scouts.
Yeah, like Boy Scouts.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah. Once in a while there came some of those professional propaganda speakers and said, oh, you are in a great time and how lucky you are the greatest man in German history, Hitler. Oh. And sometimes we made like this and had fun. But when the war started, we didn't do that anymore. No. Then, because I remember what my grandmother used to say, voting for Hitler means voting for a war and a revenge. Yeah. Hitler was determined to defeat France, and it was so unexpectedly fast done. It gave up. Poland was no problem. Oh yeah, that was almost like an excursion. No. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then day and night propaganda. At first, all Jewish artists were fired. Oh, many left. The best conductors in Berlin were all Jews, German Jews. The German Jews enriched German culture very much. Then no Jewish writer was allowed to publish. Many left. The most famous German writers, 3 of them, left Germany. There was Thomas Mann, Nobel Prize, Bert Brecht, you may know, the 3-penny opera, and so play, and Hermann Hesse. Both were Nobel Prize takers, and Bert Brecht was a communist, but his plays are very good. So the most famous German left, okay? But there are thousands who could not leave. They had a family, They had no money, not enough money. You cannot leave overnight. So. And then you always still were able to find a niche where there was no propaganda, and there were no propaganda films. There were also sometimes good entertainment, good films. Big propaganda films were Leni Riefenstahl.
Triumph of the Will.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
It's very good.
Yes.
It's very good piece of propaganda.
Yes.
She survived. She reached the age of 90 years, or the age of after the war. Said that I was never a Nazi. It could not have been better for her,
Yeah.
Unlimited amount of money, big staff, and praised by Hitler. No. As an artist, what else do you want? Of course, he was a big Nazi.
Yeah.
But it was too painful to admit it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you can, in a certain way, you can extend, Yeah.
What do you think of, what's his name? Rudolf Hess?
He was more in the background.
Was he crazy?
No. He had friends in England. He honestly thought if he personally flies to England, he can arrange an armistice or peace between England and Germany.
Right.
Yeah. Impossible. Yeah. And then Hitler started bombing, of course. Well, that was the end of it. Yeah. And he survived the war.
Yes,
in Berlin.
But he was the last prisoner there, I think, until he died. He was 87 years old.
Yeah. His mind was broken. Yeah. And it was 30 years of being prisoner of war. Yeah.
There was just on the news the other day, the local news yesterday. Did you see that?
No.
It was News Channel 10 yesterday. They said they were looking for some SS man who was in South America or something.
Oh, possible.
Still to this day, I don't know. He must be 80 or 90 years old. They're still looking for him.
Yeah, possible.
I don't know.
There are many, and that is, a bitter lesson. The real rats survived, The higher the rank, they stole gold and silver, and a new identity. Many times they said, we come from East Prussia. That was overrun by Russians. We lost all of our papers. My name is not Fritz Sauter. My name is Hans Schmidt, So they had a new passport, Hans Schmidt. Now, prove that he was an SS. I did not know that they were tattooed. When I was prisoner of war, said first thing is that not SS. I didn't even know. I didn't even know that. See how little I knew about the SS. No contact. Yeah. That was Hess. I saw in Berlin as a teenager the big fat Goering. He was quite popular.
Oh yeah.
He was one of the few who could smile and enjoyed good living and a good drink with his fellow officers. But under his friendly skin was a brutal guy who did not hesitate to murder and have somebody killed and executed.
Now, what about, I've always thought one of the worst characters was Himmler.
Himmler?
Yeah. He just always...
Because he was not too smart.
No.
Not too smart, no. He was a blind follower. And the rotten thing of, at the very end, do you know that? He had a list of so-called protection Jews, because he saw the end coming, and he said, if I surrender to the Allied forces, and look, I was not involved in this. Look, I have a list of people. I protected their Jews. It didn't work. No.
Yeah.
He took poison.
Well, he was one of the most for killing Jews, right? Himmler, that was the way he was very into the racial...
Heydrich was the one.
Yes.
Heydrich was the brain power behind Himmler.
Yes.
Yeah. They ridiculed even a little bit Himmler, that was the naive slave of Hitler, He clicking and bowing all the time.
Yeah.
And so, but the brain power was Heydrich, who was killed in Czechoslovakia.
Butcher of Prague, they call him?
Yes.
Yes, he's...
And that is from my friend, who was turned into SS because he came visiting his class at Heydrich. Said, he's a great guy, very nice looking. Oh, you good man, So, you must do that. No, come, you are a good man. We want you. And look, you don't have to take the final exam. You get the right away diploma. You sign up. Your parents don't have to know. You are already 17 years old. You can act on your own. So everybody signs. Wonderful. No final exam. You get a diploma. What nicer could be? And he was one of them. He said it was very nice man to meet him. Was very good looking, very elegant. And very persuasive. How can you judge? You're 17 years old. Here comes someone. Heydrich coming. He was the brain power of the SS.
Heydrich.
Himmler did everything he was told.
I've read there's another book I've read recently about Nuremberg, and they had psychiatrists interviewed. They interviewed a lot of the prisoners. I think Goering was there. Who else?
In that respect, I respect him a little bit, Goering and Nuremberg. He did not cave in. He did not use cheap excuses. He said, yes, I did this, and I would do exactly the same once more.
Right.
I know you want to shoot me. I hope they shoot me. Did you see that? Did you ever see?
I think he's probably...
There was a film, and that's one of the few films I've seen.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't see the film.
And that was very good.
They had some of those big characters.
Oh, by the way, do you want a drink or something? A beer? You like a beer?
No, thanks.